Welcome to this special Italian wine podcast broadcast. This episode is a recording off Clubhouse, the popular drop-in audio chat. This Clubhouse session was taken from the Wine Business Club and Italian Wine Club. Listen in as wine lovers and experts alike engage in some great conversation on a range of topics in wine. If you enjoy listening, please consider donating through ItalianWinePodcast.com. Any amount helps cover equipment, production, and publication costs. And remember to subscribe and rate our show wherever you tune in. This episode is proudly sponsored by Vivino, the world's largest online wine marketplace. The Vivino app makes it easy to choose wine. Enjoy expert team support, door-to-door delivery, and honest wine reviews to help you choose the perfect wine for every occasion. Vivino. Download the app on Apple or Android and discover an easier way to choose wine.
So hello everybody, ciao ragazzi. My name's Stevie Kim and this is the Italian Wine Club on the Clubhouse. Today's Thursday and we are back, as you can see, to our usual slot at 8 p.m. Central European Time with the Ambassador's Corner. Today's call is our 13th installment of the Ambassador's Corner series on Clubhouse. And Tanya Morning Star Darling, yes, that is her real name, or I think it is. I'll have to ask her about that later. Will be our host moderator from the Mod Squad to chat up Donatella Cinelli Colombini, one of the absolute key players in modern Italian wine history. I mean, I've known Donatella. She was one of the first wine peeps that I met when I started with Vinitaly, of course. And Tanya, on the other hand, she's a newbie. Like, I've just met her, really. So let me just remind everybody that you know the drill by now. This room will be recorded and maybe replayed on the Italian Wine Podcast. Fingers crossed that everything goes well with the recording and all of that stuff, connectivity. And for all the listeners out there from both here on Clubhouse and the Italian Wine Podcast, as usual, I will ask you to please follow Italian Wine Podcast wherever you get your pods. And if you can give a thumbs up to the Italian Wine Podcast and rate our podcast wherever you get your pods, we'd really, really, really appreciate that. So let's go on to the show. I believe this is our 13th installment. It's kind of hard to believe. But let me first introduce to you, as the tradition, our moderator, Tanya Morning Star Darling, is a full-time wine instructor and writer for nearly 3 decades. Wow, you look pretty great. You and I both, I think. You know, she's also known as the Cellar Muse all over social media. She not is only the program provider for wine scholar certification for French, Italian, and Spanish. She's based in Seattle with also one of our other Italian wine ambassadors who had hosted the room the other day, Interiano Martinez. And she is also a certified wine educator for WSET, level 1 through 4. And she's an ambassador of many, many other wine regions, including Burgundy, Orvieto. But most importantly, she has just become also the VIA Italian Wine Ambassador of Vinitaly International Academy with the flagship edition. So as you know, I always start with the question. Tell us why you have selected Donatella Cinelli Colombini as your favorite producer to be interviewed today.
Thank you, Stevie. And yes, this is my real name.
I know. I don't understand. Like, how does that work?
My married name is Darling, and my name is Morningstar.
Oh,
it's
my
pretty
goodness.
Simple.
It's pretty amazing.
So,
yeah,
I thought no one will ever forget that one.
Yeah,
so.
No. I thought it was kind of a joke. Like the staff just, had written that name like, oh, we have a new candidate. Her name is Darling Morningstar. And I was like, no, you guys are kidding, right?
No jokes. But back to the pressing question at hand. Donatella really represents something very dear for me in terms of values. And that would be the value of promoting women in wine, maybe first and foremost, a sensibility, a female sensibility in winemaking and wine culture. And also as an educator who engages with educational wine tourism, I'm really fascinated to learn more about her work in wine tourism as a pioneer. So she inspires me in lots of ways, and also as a person who loves history and art, which I know she does as well. So that's why.
Great. Not that you needed any excuse, but so what are what are the learning objectives for today? From what should we expect from after the interview?
Well, I really want to discover a bit more about Donatella's philosophy in wine tourism, and also her ideas about what it means to promote women working together and supporting one another in the wine industry, and why that's so important to her.
Great, fantastic. So actually, like our Clubhouse backstage manager just pinged me and said, this is actually the 14th installment. So she gave me a little bit of slack. And the next week is the 15th. And by the way, we will have Sławek, your colleague, Sławek Kominski from Poland, interviewing Michaela Szyńca. And then after that, Mark Millen will be interviewing Fontano di Cascina Fontana from Barolo. So, okay, I fixed my drink already, so take it away. I'll just shut up now.
Well, I would like to introduce Donatella now, actually, and say that I discovered Donatella's wines actually through teaching. So I was working at a local college and I was working on a lecture about women in wine and discovered her work. And I've been inspired ever since and have used her wines in many classes. And recently had the great pleasure of visiting her winery in Montalcino just a few weeks ago, which was really inspiring. But Donatella, she comes from a family of Brunello di Montalcino producers. And really, she's been involved with wine her entire life. So she actually, interestingly, has a degree in the history of medieval art, a shared passion of mine as well. And her work is really diverse, actually. Before founding her own estates, as you mentioned, plural, which we'll get to, she made her mark on wine tourism actually before founding her own estates. Actually, before this term was in broad public knowledge, wine tourism, I think so all the way back into the 1990s. She also founded the Movimento del Turismo del Vino and Cantina Aperte, which means winery open. Both of these things have had huge impacts, positive impacts on the Italian wine industry over the years. And I believe through her experiences in her family wine business, she gained the foundation to open her estates also in the 1990s. Trattoria del Colle in Traconda, which is actually a Chianti and an Orcia DOC producer. Orcia DOC is a small appellation that Donatella is currently the president of the consortio for. One of her many things that she has going. Casato Prima Donna in Montalcino, which is the estate that I visited a couple weeks ago. Those are the two estates. Donatella works both in winemaking and wine industry innovation, and her work has won many, many awards, received lots of well-deserved attention all over the world, really, and specifically by organizations like the European Sommelier Foundation, AIS Bibenda, many wine tourism publications, and of course, Vinitaly. And she's involved in a really fascinating project that I look forward to asking her about called Trekking Urbano, or a new kind of tourism sport. She was, this is a big one, nominated for knighthood by the Order of Merit of the Italian Republic. And she's the national president of the Italian Association of Women in Wine, Donne del Vino. It's totally staggering to me, all of the many layers of achievements and contributions that Donatella has made and continues to make in Italian wine. So with that, all of that, I do have lots of questions that I'm excited to ask you, Donatella. And if you could unmute yourself, we can begin. Ciao, ¿cómo está? How are you?
Ciao, Tanya, and thank you for this invitation. Thank you to Stevie Kim for this big opportunity to speak with you about my winery and my story.
Wonderful. I'm so excited. We have lots of things to talk about, but I'll go ahead and open with a question that takes you back to maybe an earlier part of your career. I know that your background is in art history, which I'm imagining has informed your work in wine tourism as well. Can you tell us specifically what inspired you to think about wine tourism and begin a journey to promote wine tourism in Italy when this was really barely a thing in the world's consciousness?
I was very lucky because I grew up in a family of persons that loved the countryside, and my grandfather taught me what is important, how much is important to be in touch with the final consumer, with the wine lover that buy and drink your wine. And the only system we have to contact these persons, to have a relationship with these people, is the wine tourism. And it was him who taught me the importance of open the door of the winery for visitors. At university, I studied history of fine art. I understood the difference between see and look. That is very, very different. If you see something, maybe you don't understand what are you looking for. But if you look something, you try to understand the meaning of the thing that you are in front of you. And that is a big difference. And it was a lesson that I used all over my life to do something of different, to look at the reality with the spirit, with the hope to change something.
Wow, I really love what you just said, and the idea of really looking for and searching to understand things, which actually leads right into my next question about trekking Urbano. And I'd love to know more about what this is. It seems like perhaps it is a project whereby people can inquire and look to understand meaning of culture and wine. So can you tell us about it?
Trekking Urbano is the urban version of the trekking. In the countryside, you walk and you can visit, and you go around only in the good season when you have light and not in the dark, not in the night, and only in the spring, summer, or maybe in autumn. But of course, you have to stop when the weather is bad. The urban trekking is of course, it is a sport that you can use as a system to be healthy, to use your city or another place to be healthy. But it is a different style of tourism that change the visitors in explorers that are able to discover something of new everywhere. The adventure begins out your door, because each place, also your town, maybe it is a place in which a good walking becomes something of healthy, but also a system to discover new friends, new information, artisan, foods, buildings, history, something that are able to give you emotion and experiences. And so it is a new style to become explorer instead of visitors, not only in the most famous part of the place that you are visiting, but also outside, to explore, to understand, to to be in touch with the local people.
That's so wonderful. As a tour guide, we primarily are there with my students to learn about wine, but you can't learn about and understand Italian wine without exploring Italian culture, art, food, getting to know people, exploring some of the language, the architecture. It's connected, most people know that I love Orvieto wines, but if you look at the Duomo, actually the stones are the same stones that form the bedrock of the terroir. And so when you look at architecture, you're actually looking at the stones that the vines grow in. And those connections can be made for wine lovers when you're in urban settings too, which is really wonderful. You were going to say something?
I think that the urban trekking is the most modern and more a system to respect the culture and the local activities. You enter in the life and in the place that you are visiting, in the countryside, but also in the city. And exploring, it is the right way to become tourist now. It is less stressed for the local places that you are visiting, and it is a system to enter in the real, in the natural, in the original culture of that place, in the countryside and in the city.
It seems like so much is changing about how we explore the world and how we're going to explore the world. And I'm wondering if perhaps in the post-COVID world I'm sure tourism is going to change a lot. I think it's likely that people are going to take interest in smaller, less populated destinations, and that really will create opportunities for these things that you're speaking about. I'm wondering what you think is going to be different about the world of tourism and wine tourism in this new post-COVID reality that we're living in.
The biggest difference are there are more women, more visitors without a very strong interest in wine, more animals, dogs. Yes, the friends with 4 legs, and the visitors are more interested in experiences and less in the wine selling is maybe less than before in Italy, but we sell more experiences, and the visitors ask us more something of new, of different, a real and original experience of that place and only from that culture.
So you think that tourists are more curious, more able today to really investigate? Sounds like that's exciting.
Of course. The wine tourist now is less tourist and more explorer. Is more interested in something of different variety, different denomination, different wineries, something of small, something that respect nature, and something that is able to give emotion, because the story, because the family, because the passion that the winemaker put in their work.
I think we need to be more connected than ever before, which I believe is going to change how people interact, as you say, turning from tourist to explorer, and how wonderful it is for people to actually have an intimate experience somewhere. I don't mean to sound, kind of out there, but it's healing for people, from the isolation that we've been experiencing, to really approach something and feel like we've connected with it more than just on a surface level. I think that you've said a lot that will really inform wine tourism professionals about how to respond to this moment and in general to the needs of people who want to travel. But if there was one little nugget, one little thing that you could say, a key piece of advice for wine tourism professionals that they could put in their minds moving forward in this new landscape that would help them to better meet the needs of this new explorer, what would it be?
So there are many new tendencies. First, there is a new the number of the people that come back in the same place is increasing. The name of these people is repeaters, persons that come back more than one time in the same place. And of course, it is really difficult to give them a reason to come back. So also for the most famous places, it's necessary to organize something of new. For example, in Montalcino, there is a museum for Brunello that is something of new, a new experience. The second tendency that is really increasing a lot is the never ending. It means that the people that visit the wine areas need and hope to remain in touch with the wineries, with the local community, and so the wineries as well the association have to organize a system to give them information, emotion, to keep the visitors, to maintain the visitor in touch with the life that is what happened in the winery and in the region. And sometimes it's not so easy because we are very busy in the winery, in the vineyard, but it's very important. This connection is more important than before. And of course, for the professional, it's really important to book the visit some days before. Now, the main part of our visitors can book the visit, book the wine tasting only a few hours before the arrival. For the professional, is not enough. If a winery have to organize something of more important, more well-made, is necessary also a little bit to have time for this organization.
Well, a couple of weeks ago when I visited your winery, Cassato Primadonna, and had the opportunity to meet your lovely daughter, Violante, I really saw that. Hi, Violante. Ciao.
Ciao.
It hasn't been very long since I saw you. But I wanted to say that your winery really embodies what you're talking about, this offering people something intimate that they can understand about what you're doing, but also the greater context that your winery lives within, most specifically through the art that exists throughout the winery, both the replications of medieval paintings that tell stories about Montalcino and help visitors understand something meaningful about the place that they're in, but also the contemporary art in the winery as well that really celebrates the current moment. And I think all of the things that you represent about women in wine and joyfulness and sharing. So good job. It really comes through in a way that I think is so intentional, obviously, which doesn't surprise me. But I want to ask you about this winery particularly, and the premise of the winery as a winery that's run by women. Can you tell us a little bit about how that came to be and what it is and how it's different from your other winery or other wineries?
When my father and my mother gave me this property in 1998, 24 years ago, there was a building that was like a ruin with some old vineyard around, and there was a lot of investment to do. And so my mother gave me a little quantity of Brunello just to help me in this startup of my activity. And so I am not an enologist, a winemaker, and so I phoned to the School of Enology in Siena, asking a good student to employ in my new winery, the winery that I was going to build. And they said, no, we have not, because we have a lot of demand for this student, and so you have to book this student many years before in advance. And when I asked the same question, asking a women, the answer was completely different. They said, yes, we have a lot, because the good wineries don't accept women as cellar master, as manager. And so I discovered a discrimination that was so normal, so old, and so large everywhere, that was also for me was impossible to understood this situation. For me, it was something like a new information, something that I never understood. And I decided to do something to change this situation. A winery able to show that the great wine don't need big body, strong body, but we, the women, are able to manage a winery and to produce great wine without a strong body, a very strong energy. And after 24 years, now we export in 41 foreign nations. We have 10 wines with a judgment, with a rating over 90 point on the International Wine Press. And our business and our success is increasing, even if we are women. Of course, the situation is very different now. There are a lot of women in the university. They study enology, and from the study that we made, and we are going to show at Wine to Wine on October 19, yes, at Verona with Stevie Kim. We understood that now in Italy, the wineries are managed by women and men. The vineyards are managed and cultivated by men, but communication, marketing, and wine hospitality are managed by women. And so the most important sectors of the wineries are managed by women in Italy. This is a big news for us. And for this, we can understand that in the future, women will have a very strong importance in the wine business in Italy.
I love it. And you said, even if we are women, and I would like to posit the idea, which I'm sure you probably will share with me, that it's in some ways because we are women, which contributes to the success of, and I say we, but, and for you, the success of your winery and the success of the projects that women are involved in, specifically because of what women bring to their work that's different than men. And so you already answered the question that I had planned to ask thoroughly through that wonderful explanation. But I have a different question, which is, what do you think is the different sensibility in wine business that women bring specifically that's different from men that contributes to success, to your success?
In the communication, in the marketing, wine marketing, usually the men are more, they sell wine. The women create networks and markets. It is a different style of work. Of course, we prefer wines that are more balanced, more without bitter taste, with a richness, with a very rich aroma. But of course, the profession of wine tester and wine expert are the same for men and women. There are no difference. It is only because the women usually are more able to create relationship that change the style.
So you are actually also the president of an organization called Donne del Vino, and which I think is wonderful. Can you tell us a little bit about your work with this group and what the purpose of this group is?
We are 950 members, and we are in each Italian regions. In our members, we are wine producers, owner of wine shop and restaurant, journalist, sommelier, expert, and we are also, 2 years ago, we organized also an international network with 10 associations like us in different parts of the world. But Donne del Vino is the biggest and the strongest women association in the wine world. And we work in different sectors to promote the culture of wine and also the role of women in the wine world. Of course, now, for example, we work to use the light glass in the fine wine bottles, for the fine wine bottles. You know that in Italy it's not so easy to sell an expensive wine in a light and glass, but it's very important to decrease the use of the heavy glass in wine. At the same time, we work to promote the wine culture in the School of Catering and the School of Tourism in Italy. You know that in Italy, the catering schools called Scuole Alberghiere have not wine in the national program of teaching. And
really?
as well, yes, and also for the students that study tourism, they don't study wine and food of Italy, but now at this moment, wine and food are the most important attraction for the foreign visitors that wish to come in Italy. And so it's very important to teach them not only history of art, but also the Barolo, the Barbaresco, the Prosciutto di Parma. They have to show Italy as a paradise rich of culture and good experiences.
So really, you're saying that women are driving sustainability and also culture in many, many ways through this organization. That's wonderful.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it is very important that we work all together. Each one of us that wish to do something is able to find a very strong help in our organization.
Working together is so important for women for many reasons. And although progress and opportunities for women in general come through collaborations, of course, between men and women, I feel that, and and I think that your organization really exemplifies this, it's important for women to have professional spaces to work in company of one another, to build those alliances, and actually maybe even important to have an opportunity to work together in spaces without the influence of input of men for a time. Not that women eventually shouldn't collaborate with men, but throughout history, there's been so few opportunities for women really to explore ideas, thinking, and scholarship, culture making together without the influence of men, whereas there's been so many opportunities in history for men to do that without the influence of women. So it seems important to me. Is that something that you also feel, or through this organization, which is really focused on women, is it important to have that space that's just for women?
It's a very difficult question.
I'm sorry.
Yes. So, first of all, in Italy we have different problems. The main one is the criminals' problems. You know that each 2 days women are killed by sometime by the boyfriend, sometime by the husband, and but we suppose we don't know exactly, but we suppose that the aggression and the pressure and the problems that the women have in the family, but also in the company in which they are working, are bigger than we expected. And so this is a real problem. Second problem we have is that in Italy, usually the culture of the women of wine is a little bit more stronger than the men. Usually, the women that decide to work in the wineries or work in the wine business come from different experiences, and they come from a degree or a master, and but they own less than men. They have less opportunity than men in the normal situation. And usually for women it's less easy to ask a promotion, to ask to increase the salary, and so it's really difficult to change this situation. But in Italy we have also a law that helps the wineries, the agriculture company with a female owner. So we ask to maintain this law, but also to give something more to the company that gives the same salary and the same opportunity to women, at women and men. This is the thing that we are asking to the ministry now. This is the changing we need now.
That's so true. I mean, so many of the things that you said are so meaningful. And in the end, it comes down to women's ability to own property and businesses and have self-determination through, being able to sustain finances, which allows women to put their mark in the world. So yeah, it's very important work to create that kind of stability and opportunities for women. Thank you so much.
In Italy, the property managed by women are usually smaller than the estate managed by men. So the women manage the 21% of the agricultural soil in Italy. But this 21% produce the 28% of the agricultural production. So women are more able, more competent, more performing than men.
Hear, hear. Well, your sustained years of dynamism are really inspiring to me. I look at the timeline on your biography and I think, wow. And looking at the projects that you started in your 40s and 50s and beyond, I think it gives me real hope for myself, and inspiration for myself as a woman and a mother of small children that sometimes doesn't have all the time I really want to do everything I want right now, that there's opportunity for me throughout my life to really be, to continue to be a dynamic. And so I want to ask you this question, maybe selfishly as a help to me, which is, how do you stay balanced with all these things that you want to do and accomplish over a sustained number of years?
No, I don't understand.
How do you stay balanced with all of the things that you're doing, all of the things that you want to do? How do you hold all that? It's so much. I can relate.
This is a question for my daughter. Because I have a wonderful husband, but only because my daughter and my husband are helping me. It's not true.
Family is important. Wonderful. Well, I think that really kind of was the main important question that I wanted to ask, to kind of close up about what keeps you motivated. And I think you answered it with the perfect answer, which is the people around you that love you and support you, and having that we aren't actually, not just your family, but the women that you have associated within these organizations, that through support of one another culturally in the family system and in broader organizations, I think that allows women and people the space to continue to innovate and engage and have balance in their lives. So you answered the question. Thank you. It's a good one. We should all strive to have good relationships around us. So Donatella, thank you so much. That is the end of my formal questions, and it has given me so much to think about. Thank you. I really appreciate it. I think now Stevie wants to open the floor to questions. Is that what we do now, Stevie?
Yeah, I mean, we have a few minutes to open the floor to questions. If anyone would like to raise their hand, I'm happy to bring up anyone to the stage. As usual, I'll start. By the way, that last question, that's such a trauma. I personally don't think there is a balance. I mean, everyone talks about balance, but I don't think there's much of a balance. I think Donatella, I'm not sure she agrees, but so Donatella, ciao. Ciao ragazza.
Wow.
So Donatella, I want to ask you, have you seen any changes? First of all, Donna del Vino. How long has it been when you've started it, right? Donna del Vino.
Mm-hmm.
And how many years ago was that? I can't remember.
32.
32 years. So how has the membership, the members changed, and the mission of Donna del Vino evolved in the past 30 years or so?
Of course, the mission is always the same, but for example, the approach is different. When I became president of this association, there was some pictures on the social media that show the Donna del Vino, the members of our association, with wonderful dress, a very, very elegant situation with the toast And I said, stop with this picture. You have to show what are you doing, not only the social moment of your life. Our life is not made by fashion, not only by fashion and light and toast. We work. We are protagonists of something that is changing, and we have to show that. And little by little, they became more courageous, and now part of our project are made by the members of the association. And they teach in the school, they promote wine with a different way. And for me, it is important because we are not only women and not only person of social occasion. We are protagonists in our wineries, and we have to show that.
And, as Donna Del Vino, what do you do, like, concretely to help the younger, generation of the Italian wine industry, the young women? Are there any special projects that you do to specifically help them?
Yes, we have. The name is Future. It means
What
future.
is it? I'm sorry?
The name of this project is Future.
Future, future.
Future Women of Wine. And it was a project to collect all the activities that the members of our association can do to help the new generation to understand the wine world. After, with the COVID, we converted these activities in educationals and online activities of tutoring. Of course, in the future, we will continue. This project has real activity in presence. It means visit with explication or investment in how do you say, the Borsa di Studio? Scholarship, or receive internship or trip in other countries. Before the COVID, the project was to go in Chile with a group of women of wine just to visit a countryside that is new for the wine production, but also a place that are able to show a different way in the wine production. And so it is a project that is changing, but was able to offer opportunities also during the COVID period.
Oh, that's interesting. So, I know Donatella, I don't want to monopolize the time, but I know you've recently written a book about wine tourism with a senator, very, very famous senator who is the forerunner of wine tourism laws, as well as promotion of wine tourism in Italy specifically. What is the book about, and how can people get a copy of that?
It's very easy because in Amazon is
Amazon. What is Amazon?
Yes, and it is very
It's
easy.
only in Italian, right, Donatella?
It's only in Italian. It is for the Italian managers of wine hospitality, because in Italy there are about 30,000 wineries, tourist wineries, and it is important that they work in a professional way. It means that now the main problem of the wineries open for visitors is that they offer all the same thing. Visit with explication of the production system and a little wine tasting. It's not enough. The tourism is a big business and needs of professional people that work with the visitors.
So what do you underline in the book? Do you give them like specific instructions or suggestions how to go about improving the wine tourism and hospitality?
Yeah, there are two parts. The first is about the law, in which Senator Dario Stefano explained the legal system, the law about wine tourism in Italy. And me, I teach how to manage the wine hospitality. The more simple thing, how to show the bottle on the how do you say
The shelf.
the show?
Shelf. The showcase.
How to give information, the system to offer a big experience to the person that without any wine culture, at the same time to give a different experience for the very professional visitors. It is difficult to manage different situations, but it is possible.
Okay, well, I'm very much looking forward to grabbing a copy of that and seeing what's up with the latest news and the laws of the wine tourism, which is, of course, very important. How many structures? You said there are 30,000 wineries who are, quote unquote, facilitating wine tourism in Italy. How many of these 30,000 have hospitality? Like, how many of them can actually host guests in terms of accommodation? Do you know?
This is no.
No.
But the we think that about 10,000 wineries are able to offer something of more professional. That is not only a wine shop, but also something to eat, some experiences to do, some rooms to sleep.
Okay, then that's it. And I am going to... So that's it for now. Thank you so much, Tanya, for choosing Donatella. Donatella, grazie mille. And of course, we will see all of you at Wine to Wine, whether online, virtually, or in person, preferably. We are open for business 18th and 19th of October in Verona. So if anyone wants to come, please let us know and we'll give you a friend's discount rate. So please get in touch with us. That's winetowine.net. And we will see you soon. Grazie mille. Ciao ragazzi.
Grazie, ciao.
Sniff, sniff, sip, sip, and sniff once again.
Listen to the Italian Wine Podcast wherever you get your podcasts. We're on SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Himalaya FM, and more. Don't forget to subscribe and rate the show. If you enjoy listening, please consider donating through ItalianWinePodcast.com. Any amount helps cover equipment, production, and publication costs. Until next time, cin cin.
Hi guys, I'm Joy Livingston and I am the producer of the Italian Wine Podcast. Thank you for listening. We are the only wine podcast that has been doing a daily show since the pandemic began. This is a labor of love and we are committed to bringing you free content every day. Of course, this takes time and effort, not to mention the cost of equipment, production, and editing. We would be grateful for your donations, suggestions, requests, and ideas. For more information on how to get in touch, go to ItalianWinePodcast.com.